The same retrieval system can give two different answers from the same evidence just because you change the order of the chunks. That should scare you.
It should, because people think retrieval is about getting the right chunks. In practice, order often decides which chunk becomes the story and which chunk gets ignored.
So this is not a chunking lesson. This is a power lesson. Which piece of context gets to speak first and which one gets overridden?
Exactly. In many RAG systems, the model does not weigh every retrieved passage evenly. Early chunks frame the question, later chunks get compressed, and conflicting details can be dropped.
Give me a real system, not a toy example.
Think customer support search. A user asks, "Can I cancel after renewal?" Retrieval brings back the policy overview, an older FAQ, and a billing exception note. Same three chunks, different order. One answer says cancellation is impossible after renewal. Another says there is a 7-day grace period. The system looks inconsistent, but the deeper bug is ordering.
And the user does not see a ranking bug. They see a company lying to them.
Right. In production, order changes answers when chunks partially overlap, when one chunk is broad and another is specific, or when the prompt encourages summarization before reconciliation.
So where does the distortion actually enter? Retrieval ranking? Prompt packing? The model itself?
Usually, all three can contribute, but inspect the assembly path first. Look at the final prompt exactly as the model sees it, not your intended order. The actual order after ranking, deduping, truncation, separators, and any metadata formatting.
Because teams assume top K retrieval is the truth, then forget, the prompt builder might reshuffle or clip the tail.
Yes. A common pattern is this. Ranker puts the most similar snippet first, but the first snippet is generic policy language. The crucial exception lands fourth. Then the context window cuts off the rest, or the model anchors on the first chunk and never fully integrates the exception.
That sounds small until it decides money, access, or compliance.
Here is a practical example. Imagine an internal HR assistant. The query is, can contractors access the parental leave program? Retrieved chunk 1 says leave benefits are available to employees after 90 days. Chunk 2 defines employees broadly in a glossary. Chunk 3, later in the prompt, says contractors are excluded unless mandated by local law. If chunk 3 comes late, the answer often starts broad, then hedges badly, or misses the exclusion entirely.
So the system does not merely answer, it forms an argument from the sequence it was fed.
That is the key idea. Retrieval results are not just evidence. They are a narrative order, and narrative order changes model behavior.
Before people rush into re-rankers and chunk mergers, what should they inspect first?
4 things. First, the final packed prompt with exact chunk order. Second, whether any chunk is being truncated at the head or tail. Third, where contradictory chunks sit relative to each other. Fourth, whether metadata like title, date, jurisdiction, or version appears before the body text, or is missing entirely.
Why does metadata matter that much?
Because it tells the model how to privilege evidence. If an old policy chunk appears before a newer one, but the newer chunk has no visible date, the model may treat them as peers. Then the earlier chunk sets the frame and wins.
So one hidden failure mode is not bad retrieval, it is bad evidence labeling.
Exactly. Another real scenario is legal or compliance search. Query: can we store audit logs for more than 1 year? Retrieved chunk 1 is a general retention policy. Chunk 2 is a regional exception. Chunk 3 is a superseding amendment. If the amendment arrives late, the model may produce a confident but obsolete answer. That is how teams create compliance risk while believing they are grounded.
What about cases where all chunks are correct, but the answer still flips?
That happens when the question requires synthesis across chunks with different specificity. General rule first, exception later, gives one answer. Exception first, general rule later, gives another tone and sometimes another conclusion. The model is sensitive to framing, especially when prompted to be concise.
So concise answers can actually hide ordering damage.
Yes, compression is where nuance goes to die. If the model has to collapse 5 chunks into 3 sentences, order decides what survives. This is why inspecting only retrieval scores is not enough.
Let me sharpen the stakes. The teams that notice this early build assistants people trust. The teams that miss it ship systems that sound authoritative and drift with tiny context changes.
And that drift is hard to debug if you only evaluate hit rate. You need order sensitivity checks. Run the same query with the same retrieved set in multiple permutations and compare answer stability, especially around exceptions, dates, and scope boundaries.
That is a painful test because it reveals whether your answer depends on evidence or on presentation.
Painful, but useful. If a small reorder flips a policy answer, do not celebrate retrieval accuracy. You have a reasoning stability problem.
So the first move is not fix chunk size. It is inspect the packed evidence, inspect contradictions, inspect truncation, and inspect visible metadata.
Yes. Then decide whether to change ranking, grouping, prompt instructions, or chunk design. But earn that decision with prompt-level evidence first.
Because in RAG, the winner is not always the best chunk. It is often the chunk that gets the first word.